Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing this look here. I feel like that's super boring to start out every video that way, but that's what I'm doing. So this is my, I guess, classic glam Valentine's Day look. The reason that I did it this way is because I know that a lot of the people that follow me are always wanting more natural looks, more achievable looks, stuff that doesn't require a ton of products, and I feel like this is very achievable. This video also featured the Lena lashes. I believe these are new. This is Idris. I will link it down below. But this is one of their new liquid lipsticks, and I just tried this out for the first time. I've never tried their liquid lipsticks. I've only ever used Colourpop and Anastasia, so I've never tried any other brands of liquid lipsticks. And these have the prettiest, first of all, prettiest packaging, and the prettiest box that they come in. Like, look at that. I just think that's gorgeous. They have like the prettiest packaging. And I feel like their liquid lipsticks are less drying than Colourpop. So they're not as drying as Colourpop. And I don't know, somewhere between like Anastasia and Colourpop, because I feel like Anastasia is like the least drying. I could be wrong, but I feel like they're the least drying, or at least the ones that I've tried, and I feel like this is right in the middle, which is perfect and amazing. I love this color. And it's like that perfect Valentine's Day red, so that's what I went with. And so most of the products that I used in this video are affordable, and by affordable I typically mean like under $20. That's just what I consider affordable, so like with shipping 12, you know what I mean? So you can do this just for fun every day. This is appropriate for whenever you want, because it's makeup, you can have fun with it. And I hope you guys have an amazing day, and let's get into the video. Hey guys, okay, so to get started, I'm using the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer in R20, and I'm just patting that all over my lid to get rid of any redness or veins or anything like that. And I think this is just the best method of priming your lids, is using a great concealer. So that's just what I'm doing. I'm going to be using some Scotch tape. This is plain regular Scotch tape, just in a pretty pink case. And I put that on the back of my hand to get rid of some of the stickiness. And I especially do that when I'm doing this on clients, just so that it doesn't hurt when you pull the tape off of your face. So I line that with my lower lash line and then towards the tail of my brow. This is personal preference, and also this takes a little bit of practice to get the best angle that you want. So for the very first shadow I'm using is Cream Puff by Morphe, and I'm just using that on a Morphe E22 brush. This is basically the same color as my concealer. It's just going to kind of mattify that concealer. For the second shadow, I'm using Flawless, again by Morphe, and this is kind of just a warm transition color. I wouldn't really call it a brown, but it's a great transition color. You can use any brown neutral tone shadows that you have. I'm just focusing this on the outer corner, right in that V, just to give us a little bit of definition so our eyes don't look totally blank. And I focused that very heavily on the outer corner and just slightly bring it into the inner corner, just to give it a little bit more of definition, but not enough that I want to make it super obvious. Now I'm using Matte by Morphe. And these shadows are amazingly priced, by the way, just so you know. If you haven't checked out Morphe yet, you need to. And these are like super amazing. If you're looking for some really great neutral tone colors, these are perfect. So I'm just blending that, focusing this more on the outer corner. For our liner, that's all we're doing for eyeshadow. I know, weird, right? For our liner, again, I'm using Morphe. Their gel liner in Slate is very black and very easy to use, in my opinion. So for the winged liner, I start out kind of right in the middle where that tape line is, just to kind of get an idea. I think the best part about using the tape is it gives you an idea of how to do your liner, so then when you build up enough practice, you don't need to use the tape anymore. So it's kind of like training wheels. And I really try to create a straight line from the tail to the inner corner when my eyes are closed. So then when my eyes are open, it gives it that kind of iconic winged liner curved look. So as you can tell, I'm just slowly building this up. Like, I don't start with this super thick wing or anything like that. I just slowly build this up until I get the thickness that I want it to be. And I prefer for the inner corner to be very thin, just to outline the inner corner of my eyes, but not to make it super thick or anything like that. The key to doing winged liner is you just have to be patient, take your time with it, and a lot of practice. So it looks really messy, but when you take your time and you go through and you pat the areas, because as you can see, I'm doing a lot of swiping, but I'm also just doing a little bit of patting to create that line in a very straight way, so we don't have any wobbles or anything like that. So again, just building this up a little bit more, and I'm extending that wing out a little bit. So when I peel off the tape, you can kind of see like it's very sharp and clean, and you can also kind of get a feel for if that's the way you like it. So for the other eye, I kind of skipped through this a little bit, but I cannot see out of my left eye, for those of you who don't know. So when I try to do the liner on my right eye, it's very difficult, because if I close my right eye to do liner, I can't see what I'm doing. So if I can do it, you can do it. I have total faith in you. So as you can see, it's a little bit easier to see when I do the tail, because I don't really need my eyes closed for that part. But I'm just trying to make this as even as possible to the other side. I'm really focusing on making this line as straight as I can. Okay, so I've removed the tape, and you can kind of see sometimes like it might be a little bit too high up or something like that, and so I'm just going through and filling in any gaps or making it a little bit more straight, just the way that I prefer for it to look. If you mess up, which I did, and this happens all the time, so it's totally okay, I just use a makeup wipe, and I use my nail mostly to just swipe a little bit of the product up towards my temple. So this kind of looks ridiculous right now, but this is why I do my eyes before I do my foundation, for this exact reason. So as I just swipe it up, and then I can just kind of wipe it away. This is also going to make it look a little bit sharper too. For our lashes, I'm using House of Lashes Iconic. You do not need to do lashes with this look, but I just prefer lashes. I think that lashes are better for me. I use them every single day, basically. Like any day that I wear makeup, I usually wear lashes. And this is just my own obsession. You can do mascara if that's what you're comfortable with. That's totally fine. So I just kind of start with the center. I push them in on the center, push them in on the inner corner, then push them in on the outer corner. And again, this is very tricky for me to do on my good eye, because I can't really see what I'm doing. I'm kind of just guessing where my lash line is. See what I mean? Like that's not my lash line. It's not it at all. Like I'm just kind of guessing. So I kind of just move it around. I figured it out by now, just the way that it feels, how it's supposed to be. And by squeezing it with my natural lashes, that's how I get it as close to the lash line as possible. If I can do it, you can do it. I have total faith in you. So I put a little bit of mascara just on the base of my lashes mostly. This kind of just blends the lashes together, especially because the base of my lashes is kind of blonde almost. As you can tell, my eyebrows are very light, and that's how my lashes are. So I kind of just use this to blend it all together and create one layer of lashes. For my face, I'm using the Step 1 Smoothing Primer by Makeup Forever. I'm putting this in any of the areas that I have a little bit of texture, or anything that I would rather be flat or smooth. And for the rest of my face, I'm using the Becca Backlight Priming Filter, which I love this primer, mostly just because it makes my face look so glowy. My favorite thing about this primer is that you can use it when you're not wearing like any makeup, and it just makes your face look very healthy and glowy, and I love that. So I'm putting that in the areas that I want to highlight on my face, just bring a little bit more attention to. Also, this prevents it from looking kind of cake facey. So for my foundation, I'm using the L'Oreal Lumi Cushion Foundation, and I have only used this probably a handful of times. I use this with my Morphe M439 brush to get most of the product, but I feel like the packaging just does not work with this product very well. I feel like it's a very liquidy product, and it stays wet on your face kind of longer than I would like for it to stay wet. When I use my Beauty Blender, however, which I will go over this layer that I'm doing and pat it out with my Beauty Blender, then I like it. I just feel like when I put my Beauty Blender on the cushion, I don't get enough product, but that could also be because I tend to prefer a fuller coverage. So that's just my opinion. I don't know. I wouldn't use this every single day. However, I do wish that they made this in a different form of packaging because I love the way the foundation actually feels on my skin after I've let it set. It's very natural feeling. It doesn't get very dry. It doesn't look cakey at all. I think it is very undetectable by camera, in my opinion. Like all of my close-up pictures don't look cakey or anything like that with this foundation. So if they change the packaging of this exact same formula, I feel like I would like it so much more than I like it now. So for my concealer, I'm mixing the R20 and Y33 of those Makeup Forever concealers, and I'm just mixing those in the back of my hand and then putting that on a concealer brush. This is also going to help clean up that line a little bit. This is really my favorite trick when I'm doing winged liner or anything like that, is to use the concealer to help clean it up. So I'm putting that in the areas of my face that I want to highlight. As you can tell, this isn't a lot lighter than my face by any means, because I'm not trying to get a super light under eye concealer when I'm doing this. Not for this particular look anyway. So I'm blending that out with my Beauty Blender, and I'm just patting that in. This concealer is amazing. I love it so much. If you have issues with creasing or dryness of your concealer, then this is the concealer for you, trust me. So I'm just going to set that with the MAC Pro Emphasize powder, those two top powders in this palette, and the Anastasia banana powder. So I'm just using my Morphe, I think it's the 501 brush, to pat my those powders on the underneath of my eyes. This is also going to prevent any creasing, and I feel like this adds a teeny bit of coverage to make the underneath of the eye look very awake and smooth. I feel like if the underneath area of your eyes looks very smooth, it's going to make the rest of your makeup look better. And I just go over my brows just a little bit here too. For the rest of my face, I'm using the Makeup Forever translucent powder on the Morphe E1 brush. A tip that I have for people who have a hard time with their powders and get maybe like the cake face or it looks like too much, if you're using a powder foundation over a liquid or cream foundation, that's what's going to give you that look, just as a thought. For underneath of my eyes, I'm using the Morphe Creme Brulee. This is a Morphe day. I totally didn't even realize that. Eyeshadow, and this is just a little bit darker than the ones I used before, and I just blend that out underneath of my eyes. If you haven't done this already, try it, because I'm telling you, it makes your eye makeup, it takes it to the next level. Just trust me. So for my lips, I'm using the Full Lips Enhancer. Please take note of how small my lips look before I use this. Seriously, this thing is amazing. It's in the medium oval, and I did this, I think, for probably like a minute. You can do it for less. That's just how long I do it, and I actually kind of find it comfortable. It's weird. So look how much different my lips look. I feel like these are very more like Kylie Jenner. So I just kind of blend out the foundation that got a little bit smudged when I used that. So I'm using my MAC Cherry Lip Liner, which is one of my favorite red lip liners ever. You don't have to use a lip liner. I just use lip liner because it gives me the opportunity to even out my lips to make them more symmetrical. So I overline in some areas and then I don't in other areas, just to make my lips look more symmetrical, and this is kind of the starting of the red lip. So I'm really focused on the Cupid's bow. I also feel like it's very important when you do a red lip for it to be very clean. If you have like a wobbly red lip, I feel like that's super noticeable and obvious. That could be just a pet peeve of mine. I'm very particular about my red lips. Like, I feel like if it looks messy, it just looks like white trash, and that bothers me. So I'm very particular with the liner to make sure that the line of my lips looks very clean and crisp. That's like my main goal when I do red lips. So for the outer corners, to kind of create that ombre red lip, I'm using Colourpop's Avenue liquid lipstick, and I'm just using that on a little flat brush. I think this is technically a concealer brush, but I use it as a lip brush, and I'm just kind of blending that from the outer corner slightly into the center of my lip. Now, I'm not covering my entire lip with this. Any of the areas of my lip that I leave blank is what's going to look the most red when I use the Idris liquid lipstick. So I'm just focusing this mainly on the outer corner and slightly blending it in. You have to be careful, however. I use a very small amount because if you go in with multiple layers of a liquid lipstick, that's when it starts to get flaky. So I'm just using a very small amount, just enough to cover the area, and that's why I'm blending it into the center so that I'm not going overboard with the product. So these are the Lena Lashes liquid lipstick in Idris, and I think this is just so gorgeous. I love the gold and red together. I think that's beautiful. I do wish that they would put the name of the liquid lipstick on the actual bottle, but they don't. I don't know why. That seems weird to me. So I'm focusing this color mostly on the center, but I'm blending that into the rest of the color that I used. And this particular liquid lipstick has a different wand shape than most other ones that I've used, and I think this is really great for getting that very precise line, and I also feel like it blends very well. I really like this lip wand way better than any of the other ones that I've used. So I'm just putting that mostly on the center. For my contour, this is the Makeup Geek contour pans that they just came out with, and first of all, let me just say, these are amazing. These are the creamiest contour shades I have ever used, like ever. I'm in love. So I'm using Bad Habit and Infidelity. I believe Infidelity is the lighter one. It might be the darker one. I'm not sure. But I'm like super obsessed. This is the first time I'd ever used these, was when I filmed this video. And I was like, are you kidding me? But I will say they're very pigmented. So like a little bit goes a long way. So I'm just blending that, like, you see what I mean? Like, that was like a tiny little amount. So I blend that out with the Morphe E4 brush. I love this brush for blending out the bronzer or contour colors because I feel like it does a really amazing job. Also, I think doing any kind of bronzing when you have a sharp red lip is very important because it adds a little bit of depth back to the face. So when you have a plain white face and then red lips, it looks very Snow White, old-fashioned, and then when you add the bronzer and contour, I think it makes it very modern and sculpted. So I'm just focusing that on the temples, underneath the cheekbones, the regular places. If you want to see my contour routine, go to my previous video. That will give you all of the answers. So for my blush, I'm using this dusty mauve color, and I kind of picked this one just because I felt like I needed some contrast to the bright red, and I'm using the exact same brush for that. Don't judge me, that's what I like. So for my baking, again, if you want to see a more in-depth routine of how I do the baking, you can go to my previous video. I talk all about what I do and what I use and how I do it and why I do it and all of those things. So I'm just doing this underneath of my contour, which this I think helps you can kind of decide what face shape you want when you do this. So for this one, I go with a very sharp angled contour. I don't go for a very curved contour. And I just let this sit on the face long enough for me to go through and highlight the areas that I want to highlight. Also, I feel like when I do this, it makes my makeup like bulletproof. It stays on forever, which makes sense because this is technically a drag technique, and I feel like drag queens always have makeup, like their makeup stays no matter what. I'm just super jealous of that. Maybe this is part of the reason. Okay, so I'm going back in with these colors from Makeup Geek, and I believe I'm using the Infidelity. And I'm just taking a small smudgy brush and I'm placing that on the sides of my nose to give my nose a little bit more definition. And like I said, I'm super pale, so I feel like when I bring a little bit more definition to my face, it helps. If you want to see how I do most of my nose contouring, I also have that in my previous video. Here's just a quick little clip of how I do it. So I use my Morphe E1 brush, which I used previously. I don't have any product on it at all. I'm just using this to blend out the powder that I previously used. So I kind of just buff that all together, and as you can see, it makes that contour very sharp and defined, which is what I was going for. Also, this helps if you go a little bit overboard with your contour. That's like definitely what you need to do. For my highlight, I'm going to be using the Anastasia Glow palette. I'm using Dripping in Gold, and I'm just taking that on my Morphe brush. I forget the number, but I will link it down below, and I'm highlighting my cheekbones. Again, if you want to see a more in-depth tutorial of that, I have that in my previous video, but I'm mostly just highlighting my cheekbones, the center of my nose, and a little bit on my Cupid's bow, which, let's be real, I'm obsessed with my highlight. I think that this is just so glamorous and gorgeous. I can't help it. I love it. I'm obsessed. Don't judge me. Or judge me. I don't really care. It's fine. So for my brows, I actually filmed my brow video while filming this video. So that video is going to be uploaded after this one. So I'm just going to skip over it. To set the face, I'm starting with my MAC Fix Plus. This is going to kind of blend all of those powders together and also bring out our highlight a little bit more. This adds a little bit of moisture back to the skin. And then I'm using my Skindinavia Bridal Setting Spray, and this is what's going to really set the makeup. This makes it like waterproof. This stuff is amazing. Trust me, I love it. I'm obsessed. So I'm just casually fanning myself off with the Morphe palette. I can. Don't judge me. So that is all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day. It's not cute if people could see your lash line. Like they don't know I'm wearing lashes. We all know I'm wearing lashes. Let's be real. What else is in this video? I don't know. Drugstore. I just feel like I'm rambling at this point. I don't know. And I don't know what to say.